Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hakim Birazali and I am presenter number 1.
Hi, my name is Raja Nur Izzati binti Raja Azlan and I am the second presenter.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ikhwan bin Ibrahim and I am presenter number 3.
Today, we are presenting a research on selecting an automobile purchase using analytic hierarchy process AHP approach. Regarding to our background of the study, automobiles are very important needs to ensure that all journeys in daily life run smoothly. So car has become an important element in moving every activity done by a person. Since the COVID-19 hit the world, every individual has planning their respective life, especially in the field of finance. Buying a car needs to be clearly emphasized so that no mistake or regrets occur in the future. The study used analytic hierarchy process method to determine the important criteria for automobile purchasing selection. Another important side of the study is that it will help to identify the buyer's preferable types of automobile. For the problem statement, buyers have a hard time choosing the right car. They consider the price estimated, the performance and design of a car, and whether it is easy to find a car spare parts in the future. So, an appropriate decision-making method to choose the best car model is useful for the buyer to make the right decision. But, normal selection method does not consider the criteria of a car. This will lead to customers mistakenly buying their car. So, we choose AHP for our decision-making method in this study. AHP stands for Multi-Criteria Decision-Making Method. It is a simple and effective way to make and evaluate decision, different from other decision-making methods because AHP considered multi-criteria. There are two objectives of this study. The first one is to determine the important criteria for automobile purchasing selection using AHP method. And the second is to identify the preferable types of automobiles using AHP method. The significance of this study focuses on two groups, which are developers and users. As for developers, this study facilitates the automobile manufacturing companies in the country to plan the production of cars according to criteria and model desired by buyer and worth the price, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And for the users, which are staff and students, staff who already have a fixed salary can plan a budget that suits the model they want to buy. This will reduce the risk of loss once the car purchase is made. Also, it helps students in choosing the best car model in the future that suits them. For the scope of this study, a simple random sampling method and the quantitative data taken from the questionnaires will be used for this study. The respondents are the staff and students of UiTM Seremban 3. And as for the limitation of this study, the respondents for this study are limited, which does not include respondents outside the UiTM Seremban 3. There are limited types of car that will be studied, which are Pro 2, Toyota, Honda, Proton and Mercedes.
On a daily basis, automobiles affect the life of 100 million people practically everywhere on the world. Nowadays, a lot of young people want to buy a car more than ever before. However, they are unaware on overall hidden costs that they must pay. Regarding June 2001, purchasing a new car is considered as a problem of decision making and an indication of customer preference. Next is AHP method, or known as the analytic hierarchy process. It's a simple and intuitive way to make and analyze decisions. It was created by SETI on 1980. This method is defined by three concepts. First one is establishing hierarchies. Second is setting priorities, which is determined by pair comparisons of elements in light of certain criteria. And the third one is logical consistency. The findings from this study indicate the consistency of priority setting using the indices proposition, and it may validate the consistency of decisions. The advantage of AHP that we can see is this approach is reasonable, understandable, and the computation procedure is simple. AHP in automobile models has the potential to improve sales as it helps to make an appropriate decision based on logical and scientific considerations. However, AHP is not relevant in judgments involving human emotions. Many industries use AHP method to make difficult decisions that require a large number of criteria such as government agencies, educational institutions, health facility, and others.
For the process of methodology, there are 6 steps required to determine the weightage. The steps start from construct the questionnaire, followed by distribute the questionnaire, collecting data, analyzing data using AHP method, result and discussion, and lastly, making the conclusion. This research will be carried out at UiTM Seremban 3. We design questionnaire that take into all of criteria and models used in this study before distributing them to a group of people. The criteria were determined based on our research objective are price, design, quality, spare part, and performance. All of the criteria are functioning to discern a few models, which are Prodwa, Toyota, Honda, Proton, and Mercedes. Okay, next we move to the first step to calculate the weightage of criteria. For step 1, we need to determine the metric comparison. The first step is to compare the criterion of the data. The range of the criterion is from 1 to 9. The table shows the value of criterion. The smaller value of criterion is the more important criteria. From this table, price with 5 degree of importance is most important than others, and quality and spare part with 9 degree of importance is the least important. The comparison table below shows the pairwise comparison for the criteria. From the table above, if we compare CI and CJ, then CI is more important than CJ. Let CI equal to A and CJ equal to B. I stand for row and J stand for column. The criteria scale is calculated using the formula provided below. To make the pairwise comparison metric, we will use the formula to make the metric. The pairwise comparison are arranged in the following metric Cij, as shown in the figure below. Next, we move to the second step in calculate the weightage of criteria, which is normalize the metric comparison. In order to compute the weightage, we need to normalize the metric first. The element in the comparison metric is divided by the sum of column inside the metric to normalize it. The normalized element is denoted as Vij as the figure shown below. The formula is Vij equal to Cij over Cj, where Cj equal to summation of I Cij. This process is repeated for every row and column of the elements. Next, for the third step in calculate the weightage of criteria is compute the weightage. After the normalized metric is arranged, the metric elements are then summed with the same row and divided by the number of elements in the metric. The main goal is to compute the weightage of the criteria, which is denoted as Wc. So, the formula is Wi equal to 1 over n times with summation of j Vij. Then, after we get the weightage of criteria, we will arrange the value in a row, as shown in the figure. Wc equal to W1, W2, W3 until Wn. The highest weightage is the most important criteria. Next, for the step 4 in calculate the weightage of criteria, we need to determine the consistency metric. In order to determine the consistency metric, we need to compare the CWT and NWT. If CWT is equal to NWT, then we conclude that the metric is consistent. C stand for comparison metric, WT stand for weightage transpose, N stand for number of elements in the metric. If the value is not equal, so we conclude that the metric is not consistent. But we still accept the data if the level of consistency ratio is less than 0.1. Next, for the step 5, we need to calculate the consistency ratio, CR. For the calculation of consistency ratio, there are 4 steps which is start from find the highest eigenvalue of metric, Emax. Now, let's look at the formula of Emax. Emax equal to 1 over n times with summation of I times with CW transpose divided by IW. So, we can simplify the formula of Emax as shown in the figure below. The first row we assume as x1, the second row we assume as x2, and until xn. Now, we get the final formula of Emax. Emax equal to 1 over n times with x1 over w1 plus x2 over w2 until xn over wn. The second step in calculate the consistency ratio is calculate the consistency index, Ci. The formula of Ci is Emax minus n over n minus 1. After we get the value of Ci, we will identify the random index, Ri, by referring the table. It depends on the number of elements that being compared. For example, if the number of elements is 5, so the random index is 1.12. And then the last step in calculate the consistency ratio is calculate by using the formula Ci over Ri. the value of CR must less than 0.1, so the data we will accept. After we finish calculate the weightage of criteria, we will calculate the weightage of model. The procedure of calculate the weightage of model is same like we calculate the weightage of criteria. By using the same pairwise comparison metric method, in order to calculate the weightage of model is based on criteria WACN. For example, WA1 is stand for weightage of model for criteria 1. For WA2, stand for weightage of model for criteria 2. So, we will use the formula to find the weightage of model. The formula is WACN equal to WACN transpose times with WAC transpose. So, after we get the value of weightage model, we will arrange the value in one column. WA1, WA2 is shown in the figure below. So, in conclusion, the highest weightage is the most preferable model. For the implementation data, so utilizing the AHP method, the weightage of criteria and alternative has been determined. We use the Microsoft Excel to clean the data and calculate the result. So, we use the data from respondent 1. Next, we calculate the weightage of criteria using the formula, and the table show the result of weightage for each criteria by rank. Based on the table, respondent 1 gave the most weightage to price and quality as the most important criteria in selecting an automobile purchase model. Okay, next, for the calculation of weightage of alternative, to find the alternative for each criterion, the same procedure as the criteria were used. Next, we calculate the weightage of alternative using the formula, and the table show the result of weightage for each alternative by rank for criteria 1. Based on the table, respondent 1 gave the most weightage to Pro2 as the most preferable model in selecting an automobile purchase model. The calculation to find the weightage for each alternative corresponding to criteria 2, 3, 4 and 5 were the same as the calculation for alternative criteria 1. So, the result was shown below. And the summary for each alternative corresponding to criteria 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 is shown in the table below. Lastly, we calculate the weightage of alternative using the formula, and the table shows the result of weightage for alternative by rank for all criteria. Based on the table, respondent 1 gave the most weightage to Pro2 as the most preferable model in selecting an automobile purchase model.
The selection of the most important criteria is based on the highest percentage. Pie chart above indicates that for the selection of a vehicle model, 23% of respondents choose criteria 1, which is price. Only 17% of respondents consider criteria 2, which is design, to be the least important criteria. Moving to the percentage of preferred alternatives, the figure above shows that 23% of respondents choose Pro2 as their preferred model. Next, we move to the comparison of criteria and alternative by gender. For criteria, the majority of people of both genders choose criteria 1, which is price, as the most important factors to consider when buying a car. And then, for alternatives, the figure shows that the majority of male respondents choose Pro2 automobile as their preferred car, while Pro2 and Mercedes, which is alternative 1 and 5, were chosen by majority of female respondents as their preferred models. This study found that a number of factors, including attitude, age, and gender, affect whether or not a person buys an automobile. To check the validity of the result, this study calculates the consistency of the matrix. If the matrix is not consistent, the data still can be accepted if the level of consistency ratio is less than 0.1. After all the conditions are met, the result from the study is still valid.
In conclusion, the aim of this study is accomplished. This is because we get to know the most important criteria chosen by the respondent is price, and based on all the automobile model listed, most respondents had chosen Pro2 as their preferable automobile model. And the AHP method plays a big role formulating and analyzing decision in this study finding to assist all the respondents for selecting an automobile purchase model. As the recommendation, future researchers should supplement the study's methodology in different ways by combined with other methods such as fuzzy topsis, Evermix, and the ZOGP model Next is future studies should broaden the study population and data collection in order to increase the accuracy of the results for the most chosen criteria and alternative. And lastly, they can apply the NHP technique to sectors other than automobiles, such as education, banking and finance, administration and healthcare facilities. That is all from us. Thank you.